With this here, this ain't about being flashy. This is game day, son. It's only about one thing. Getting that W. That's the only thing that matters right now. Boy, you ready?
The past is the past, you know? It's a new day, bro. I'ma put it on my day. You gotta do it now.
Blindside Fantasy Football Podcast here today. Marcus Katkin with Matt Dugal. How's it going, Matt?
Not too bad. How you doing today, Marcus? Anything new going on this week?
Yeah, we made some actually major news this week. Ryan Michael, the one of our writers here, he had an exclusive interview with Terrell Owens that seemed to make some major news. If you missed it, I don't know how you did, but he basically asked Terrell about his interest in the Patriots and how he would feel about if the Patriots gave him a call. Let's just let Susie Colbert from ESPN's NFL 32 tell us all about it. Here's Susie.
Owens, who worked out with Tom Brady in California earlier this offseason, discussed his desire to play for the Patriots, telling BlindsideFootball.com, quote, "I think that's a no-brainer. You look at what they've done over the years under the tutelage of Tom and Coach Belichick. I think the sky would be the limit in terms of what I'd be able to do, considering my body of work and my history of playing the game."
So, as you heard from Susie, obviously Terrell really wants to play for the Patriots. If they called, it's a no-brainer for him to come play for them. Made some major news. What do you think, Matt? Do you see him playing for the Patriots this year? You think they're going to give him a call?
I mean, honestly, all that we're local here to New England, so we hear quite a bit about him, and everybody's saying it's really not a mutual thing. T.O. naturally, I'd love to go play for Tom Brady too. It's just, I guess, not a mutual feeling. So honestly, I don't think so. Do I still think T.O. has something left to give? Honestly, the way I know he works, I think he could provide some depth for a team for sure. But I don't see it happening. What about you?
Yeah, see, that's the part I don't get. He has all the talent in the world, and I think even at 39, he's in great shape.
Right.
That's
never a question with T.O.
He can still offer a lot to an NFL team, and I don't quite understand why an NFL team hasn't, at least brought him in, into camp and given him a shot. Even if it's a 1 year, $1 million deal, no guarantees, something like that. Worst case scenario, he's going to come in, he's going to teach the younger players, how to run their routes, how to catch the ball, everything. It just, I don't get it.
Hey, T.O., screw New England. Can you give my Vikings a call, please? I mean, they could really use some receivers out there in Minnesota. I wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah, I mean, Greg Jennings, they got no problem bringing in the older receivers, that's for sure. So
yeah, exactly.
T.O. would definitely fit right in. So I mean, that was a real big story for this week. We were really happy about that. If you're not following Ryan Michael on Twitter, go out and follow him at the Ryan Michael. Great story, great interview. Check it out on the website on BlindsideFootball.com. Speaking of interviews, he actually also just got done having an interview with Roy Hall, a former wide receiver for the Colts. So you can check that out on Blindside Football as well. Speaking of interviews, though, Matt, you and I have an interview kind of coming up this weekend. What do you think about it?
I'm excited to do it. It's going to be our first one. My first one. I think you've been on a few of those. Going beyond just kind of what we talk about here, getting a little bit more our name out there, and letting a lot more people hear what we think we've pretty much got figured out.
Yeah, we're gonna be on the Sports Chronicle radio show, 10:15 Eastern time, Saturday night on Blog Talk Radio. So make sure you go check that out. But let's get into the news finally. Let's get past all the housekeeping stuff. Probably the biggest story from the week, Matt, your Vikings, they keep making stories week after week.
Yeah, I don't know how as bad as they usually are, but...
Yeah, I mean, Adrian Peterson thinks he's going to run for 2,500 yards. I mean, you follow the Vikings, you watch every game, you love them, you know them. What do you think?
It's funny, no, right? No frickin' way anybody's going to run for 2,500 yards. But you think about what he did last year on the knee that wasn't even supposed to be okay until week 8. I mean, let's talk to Derrick Rose right now about that kind of a situation. This guy, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Adrian. Can he do it? No. But I don't want to be the one that doubts him.
Yeah,
don't tell him I said it.
2,500 yards is pretty crazy. I think if he has back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, stop reaching for the moon.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely shooting for the stars, I think. I do think he is going to get help, obviously, this year, because I think having Cordero Patterson there and I think having Greg Jennings, it's going to open up the field a little bit more.
Yeah, we got some playmakers, finally.
Yeah, so it's going to help open up the field for him, and I think give him bigger rushing lanes. But no way is that going to account to 2,500 yards.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that's 152 yards a game rushing. That would be incredible to average 152 yards a game.
Yeah.
Back-to-back 2,000-yard rushing seasons would be amazing, and I think that's a possibility. But even then, that's going to be very, very hard to do.
Never been done.
2,500 yards though is just crazy. So in other news, Justin Blackmon suspended for 4 games for violating the substance abuse policy in the NFL.
Do we know what the substance is yet? Is it alcohol?
I don't think they've said, but I think we all remember we all remember him blowing that. What was it, like a .23? Right after the NFL draft, I think it was.
Right.
It just obviously he's got some character issues. It looks like now. To be honest, he really didn't shine that much last year.
He started to put it on near the end, though. I mean, you could see the flashes with him. It's just disappointing that this had to happen.
Yeah, but he only put it on after Cecil Shorts got hurt with his concussions. I think if they're both there, I think Cecil Shorts is still the main receiver.
Well, I was just hoping that Blackmon was going to come to realize his potential, and maybe they'd have quite a 1-2 punch out there. But this is just kind of showing you that he can't shake his demons, and in the NFL, when everybody's talented, you got to work hard. And if you're, out drinking all the time, I don't know how much work you're really putting in. So
I mean, this obviously bumps him down. I think in your football rankings, he's missing 4 games. That's a quarter of the season there.
Huge.
Even then, I mean,
even if he was there 16 games, how high is he?
Yeah, I was gonna say even if he's there 16 games, I mean, we're obviously gonna do our rankings, this weekend.
Yep.
But I don't think he tops the crack 30, 35.
I mean, I started to touch on him today, and I'm forgetting where I'm thinking he's going to be, but I think you're right around the 35 range, even for me.
Yeah, I think that's where he
And
probably would have been.
I'd say at best.
I think that's where he may have probably been prior to this. I think obviously missing a quarter of the year, that really bumps him down. But stay on the lookout for that. We got our rankings coming out this weekend. So it should be interesting to see where all the Blindside football writers have him ranked. Speaking of, so we got Tim Tebow here. Obviously, out of a job, looking for jobs, gets offered a job. It'd be interesting to see if he'd take it. I think it's honestly something I think he should consider. But Mitchell Mortaza, the president of the Lingerie Football League. Formerly the Lingerie Football League, now the Legends Football League.
That doesn't sound as fun.
Because they're trying to, definitely not as much fun. But trying to clear up, I think, their image a little bit. They offered a coaching position to Tebow. Obviously, he's not going to take it.
No.
Tebow thinks he's still an NFL quarterback.
What Tebow needs to do is he needs to realize he's not an NFL quarterback, and he needs to. He's a football player. I think he could perform well. I've said before I could see him as a tight end, maybe a middle linebacker type guy, but he's not a quarterback, and he's not quite fast enough for the running back position. I really think though, if he can just forget the quarterback thing, he could stick somewhere. He's a good locker room guy, and hopefully the media could just leave this guy alone.
Yeah, I think the best thing for him would be that tight end / fullback type role.
Yeah. Like
you
Jim
said,
Kleinsasser used to run in Minnesota. That would be perfect.
Yeah, I think running back, like you said, he's a little bit too slow to be a running back. But I think a fullback would be right up his alley. He's got the blocking experience, I guess, now from being a personal punt protector for the Jets. Yeah. And he's got the size and the build to be a tight end or a fullback. So I think that's really where he should be looking to go.
Yeah.
And I think from what I heard, the Jets were fielding calls from people from teams that were interested in him at other positions.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he really needs to do in order to be NFL relevant again. But for now, he's just a running joke.
Right.
Joke
central. He needs to swallow
about him.
his pride and just give up on it. But we'll see if he does. Another one that's probably just as bad. I'd probably rather have Tebow. Mark Sanchez. He vows to win the quarterback job for the Jets. Any chance he wins that?
I think there's a chance.
Yep.
I think last year was obviously a terrible, terrible season. But prior to that, he did have a few good years with the Jets. So I do think that there's a chance. The problem with Sanchez is, what's he going to say? Is he going to say, I don't think I'm going to win the starting job? Of course he's going to come out and say, I'm going to win the starting job. But let's be realistic here. The Jets came out and tried to give him that vote of confidence, tried to say, hey, you're our guy. But then they go out and they draft a quarterback in the second round, a guy who many thought was going to be the number one quarterback overall. So that's got to tell you something. I mean, at some point the Jets must have scouted Geno hard, obviously, brought him into their stadium and talked to him more, wined and dined him, really did their homework on them. That wasn't a seat of your pants call where all of a sudden they're just like, wow, Geno's falling, let's jump on this. They did their homework on him before taking him. But Sanchez got too. What was with that headband? Did you see that headband in that interview?
I didn't see that, no.
He had a bright neon green headband on, real thin girls type headband on, like the soccer players wear. Not quite sure what he was trying to do
Who's his
there.
girlfriend nowadays? Maybe she is a soccer player. I mean, I know he's all around the block.
Apparently he was trying to, I don't know, appeal to the gay crowd out there. I don't know. That thing was just.
Oh, all right, yeah, I see.
I mean. You sure he has a girlfriend?
Colin's coming out right now, and yeah, sure, okay, I get it.
Maybe it was in support of them.
Some more awareness, yeah, it's a good thing.
Just not a good look at all. So in other news, Michael Vick, races LaShawn McCoy at their training camps they got going on right now. Beats him in the 40-yard dash.
Everybody said he's old, right? Isn't that what they were saying?
That's the big thing about him. What do you think about that? Him beating LaShawn McCoy, expected, unexpected?
Oh, expected for me. Michael Vick was a 4.2 guy. I know he's 30. I think he's 31 now, so he's not quite 4.2 anymore. But LaShawn is more quick than fast. I'm not saying he's slow at all. I'm completely guessing he's around a 4.4, 4.5 guy coming out in the combine. So for me, I probably would have put the money on Vick winning that. And there's my boy. I'm telling you, he's coming back this year. You'll see in the rankings where I have him this year. You might be a little surprised.
See, I like Vic. I liked Vic a lot last year. I had him on a lot of my teams. I still think he can be a dynamic quarterback, especially in fantasy football, because he does get a lot running the ball, the touchdowns, the yards. Any running quarterback, really, I'm really high on this year because they get you that dual threat points, and they really can rack up points really, really fast. A couple of things I thought were pretty interesting. A couple of tweets by Cecil Lammy over at Football Guys and ESPN Denver. Matt Barkley, when blitzed, 44 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions.
Yeah, that's a huge problem for Vic.
So I know, like I said, Vic holds onto the ball a lot, and that was one of the big problems he had last year, was just getting rushed on a lot, and Barkley apparently can handle that.
Right, but we're talking college.
Yeah, I mean it's a different.
We'll see what it's going to be like in the NFL, but you can see what that means is the pre-snap reads. He has a good idea what he's going to do before the ball's even snapped.
Yeah, I mean, they did draft him in the 4th round. I mean, 4th round's not typically where you're going to draft somebody if you're expecting him to start, right away.
Right.
But
this could definitely they pass up on him, right?
Yeah, I mean, 3 times obviously.
Yeah.
They did move up to get him, and I think he will be their quarterback next year and moving forward. But just some other great numbers by Cecil. 65. He completed 65% of his passes, 23 touchdowns to 3 interceptions when outside the pocket, and threw for 16 touchdowns on designed rollouts.
That's not something you would quite think, I guess. You think of him more as a pocket guy.
Yeah, so I mean that's really surprising because I think even when we touched on it last week in our NFL Draft podcast, we kind of said Barkley doesn't fit that Chip Kelly mold. He's not the runner.
Right.
Maybe we were wrong. Maybe
Yeah,
we did not watch enough tape on it and look at the stats and everything else because he almost seems to fit the Chip Kelly offense now. He does well in the blitzes. He does well in the rollouts. It's everything you'd pretty much expect from him. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw the your league is too deep when hashtag. Kind of started it with my buddies FF Magic Man and Dynasty Tim over at Dynasty League Football. They kind of tweeted about something, and we're joking around about Plaxico Burress and him shooting himself in the leg, and if having him on your team meant that your league was too deep. And it kind of started me off on this hashtag. Your league is too deep when. We asked for some of your best your league is too deep when jokes. to kind of see what you guys came up with, and just wanted to kind of run down a few of them that we thought were the best ones. You know your league is too deep when you consider drafting a backup kicker.
Honestly, never been in one that deep.
Yeah, haven't been in one that deep, but if you are, your league is definitely too deep. This also feels a little bit like your like the redneck jokes and the here's your sign jokes.
Yeah.
Kind of fits that mold, but you know your league is too deep when Mark Sanchez has value.
I've never been in one that deep either.
Yeah, that one hasn't happened for me yet. Hopefully never will. You know your league is too deep when personal punt protector is a position.
Now that's fake. Come on.
It is, but it's funny.
On.
That's still good. I still like that one. You know your league is too deep when you start stashing away Brett Favre. That one's good. I
think I might have done that before.
Yeah, I think we all have. I think every year that he was like, yeah, I'm going to retire this year, I think there was quite a few of us out there that are like, I'm saving my last round pick for that, just in case he comes back.
Right.
So I think there was a few of us that have done that. You know your league is too deep when your first round draft pick is the 22nd pick in the draft.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I know I haven't been in leagues that deep, but I know there are 32 team leagues out there. Those have to be nuts.
Our home league's full of a bunch of Sallies, who likes, a smaller league, so everyone can have a bunch of all-stars. I'm big about. I like having a league like that. Maybe not that deep, but deep where you're kind of really digging. I think the cream rises to the top of those situations. I like that one.
Yeah, I think for guys like you and me, where we really do our homework and know our stuff, the deeper leagues are definitely where you and I do a lot better in. I think the perfect size is 12-team leagues myself, because it really just gets you that good mix of some deeper players, but not having to start those Danny Woodheads of the world every week. If I had to start guys like Danny Woodhead every week, I would want to shoot myself in the face. That's not any fun for me in fantasy football.
That's true.
But I understand them. They have a place, and like I said, you and I would be the type of people that would do really well in them. But just not for me in those real deep leagues. You know your league is too deep when you're eagerly awaiting Tebow news.
Oh god, that reminds me. Last year in our home league, the draft day trade, where the guy who drafted Griffin.
Robert Griffin
was offered 2 for 1, and he ended up using one of those picks on Tim Tebow.
Oh, was it Tim Tebow?
Right,
I remember that. I remember that trade.
I bet he was eagerly awaiting some Tim Tebow news after the way Griffin played last year.
Yeah, I think. I think a lot of us were in the previous years. Him with Denver. For a while when Tebow was with Denver, he was fantasy relevant. He was a guy scoring 16, 18 points a game because he was getting a rushing touchdown and a couple of yards and things. Jumping off of this for a second, and just getting back on Tebow again. I'm really surprised a little bit that teams haven't taken him as a backup quarterback, just because he's not the best quarterback, but he wins games. That's the objective in football, is to win games, not put up huge numbers. So if that's the objective, is to win games, as a backup quarterback, why not?
Because he's not a guy that the NFL is going to a passing game today. A lot of these teams. Having him like say just local here in New England, Tom Brady, having him as a Tom Brady backup. Imagine that offense. It's geared around nothing but throwing the ball, and then you put Tebow in there. You got to have a whole new game plan. The practice structure is different. It's just
but as the backup to a team that already runs a pistol type offense, a San Francisco when they took Brady Quinn as the backup.
Right.
Would you rather have Brady Quinn as your backup?
He would probably be a good fit there.
Yeah, things like that, or even the backup to EJ Manuel now in the Bills. I know they got Cobb, and they paid the money to Cobb, but obviously Cobb is not the long term answer there. Tebow, it's just something that I think more teams should think about as a potential backup guy.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, so a couple more. You know your league is too deep wins. You know your league is too deep when someone drafts Sean Green ahead of you and you get upset.
He had a big game last year.
One big game.
Everybody was upset that week.
Everybody. I think almost every starting running back, and I use that term loosely because we're talking about Sean Green, but I think every starting running back at some point during the season has one big game.
I hear you.
But yeah, if you're getting mad about somebody taking Sean Green over you, your league is too deep.
Yeah, I guess even when he has that big week, you just be happy in the fact that he didn't have him all those other pathetic weeks he had.
One of the 2 or 3 point weeks. And then the final one, your league is too deep when you draft punters for their IDP value. You're hoping that they punted and they
that's pretty good
and they tackle people.
So which one's the best out of all of them? Who's your favorite one?
I'm not going to say because some of these are mine, so I'm going to let you pick this one. Which one's your favorite?
For me, I think it's probably. I like the last one. You draft punters for their IDP value. I think that's pretty good.
That is a terrible choice because if you go back in Twitter, that one was one of mine.
Oh,
epic fail!
I didn't.
Epic fail! What a homer right there!
All right, how about then? You start
ass.
stashing Brett Favre. I'm kidding.
But speaking of Twitter, we did have a Twitter question this week for us. If you have Twitter questions for us, make sure to hashtag BlindsidePod, and we'll answer them on the podcast for you. So the one question we got this week so far, what are your thoughts on Zach Stacy this year?
It's a crapshoot. I like him. He's a smaller guy in height, but he's almost 220 pounds. He benched 225 27 times at the combine. The kid
he's a powerhouse. He's a tinier MJD.
Nice low pad level. He's quick, decent speed between 4.4 up to 4.6 in his 40 times. So right around we'll give him the 4.5 range. But the thing is that I like Daryl Richardson there, and they drafted Pede in what was it, the second round last year?
Pede was the second, and Richardson I think was the 5th or 6th last year.
Yeah. So I mean. They obviously Richardson ended up being the backup last year. They can't hate Pete too much by now. It's going to be obviously a running back by committee or an open challenge. But for now, it's tough for me to really give a recommendation on him other than to say keep an eye on him. There's nobody entrenched in the backfield there, so maybe he wins the job a la Alfred Morris.
Yeah, I mean everybody's got a shot, especially in that backfield where it's you don't know who the guy is. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't draft a running back a lot higher than they did. My big thing with Zach Stacy is he's not the prototypical size that Jeff Fisher normally plays a lot in his offenses. To give you an idea, Zach Stacy, 5'8", 216. Jeff Fisher even with just the Rams. Steven Jackson, I know he inherited him, but Steven Jackson, 6'2", 240, big guy. Richardson last year, it seemed like he preferred Richardson over Pede. Which kind of makes sense because Richardson is 3 inches taller and got him by about 10 pounds. So again, he's a big guy. Richardson 6'1", 205. So again, preferring the bigger back over the smaller back. Going back to his Tennessee days, CJ2K. All right, I get it. A little bit on the smaller side. 5'10", 197.
There's not many CJ2Ks though.
Yeah, we're not comparing Zach Stacy and CJ2K. That's craziness. That's a whole other ball game. Before Chris Johnson, though, you had big fat Lendale White, 6'1", 235, and then who can forget Eddie George at 6'3". Big guys, all of them over 6 feet tall. They're bruisers, they're up the middle guys. Zach Stacy has a little bit of that in his game, but at 5'8", I just don't. He's not quite the bulk of an. I guess he is weight-wise, but he doesn't have the legs of an MJD. So I don't see him as being anything more than a change of pace, maybe third down type back. I don't see him. I honestly don't see him overtaking Daryl Richardson this year.
I don't either, but he's a guy who they're all not proven.
Anything can happen.
There's a chance he can take this job. I think he does look good on film. Obviously, in Vanderbilt, he wasn't really on the mainstream, but he's a kid that ran for over 1,000 yards last 2 years, and
he's got over 5 yards a carry in his college career.
Not a bad looking player, and I think he actually does run pretty hard. He's a similar style to a Steven Jackson in the fact that he'll put his head down. Obviously, not style as far as size, but he's not all about dancing. He's
not a
dancer.
dancer.
Down. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. But Richardson, I think, has inside track on the job. He looked real good last year.
I do too.
You'll see in the rankings, I have Richardson ahead of all of them. So
yeah, I mean, I'm in a couple of dynasty leagues and doing dynasty mock drafts, and Richardson would be the guy out of those three that I'd be targeting. So speaking of Twitter too, again, gotten a big Twitter discussion apparently today about Reggie Bush and his ADP value right now. I know this is crazy early. We're talking about ADPs, in May. This is crazy early. I tweeted out a couple of things today though. Just I don't quite understand the Reggie Bush hype, and Matt, maybe you can help me with this because I'm not getting it. But last year was his first year since his rookie season in 2006 to play a 16-game season, and he still couldn't crack 1,000 rushing yards. To put that in perspective, Sean Green had more rushing yards and more rushing touchdowns than Reggie Bush last year. To me, that is just absolute craziness. I don't understand how Reggie Bush, in some of the mock drafts I'm doing, is going in the middle of the second round. Can you explain this to me? Can you explain the Reggie Bush hype to me?
I can see where you could think it. I could see between 500 to 800 yards rushing. I could see 500 yards receiving at the most. So, depending on how many touchdowns he scores this year, I think they're trying to get him to more of the playmaker role. I don't think that LaShore is just last year. He's a big guy. I think he's certainly the goal line back. So I don't see him being anything special. We'll see what we have him in the rankings, but he's gonna be below 20 for me, probably 25 around there.
See, I think it's so often we talk about quarterbacks that are better fantasy quarterbacks than real life quarterbacks, and I think that's going to be the opposite this year with Reggie Bush. I think he's going to be a good real life running back for their team because I think he fits that offense perfectly. But I think he's going to be a not terrible, but a bad fantasy running back for where he's going in drafts this year.
I could see 1,200 all-purpose yards between receiving and rushing.
I said that actually earlier today. I said I put the over-under at 1,200 total yards and 6 touchdowns. Would you take the over or under on both of those? Or do you think that's dead on?
I didn't even know that's what you had said earlier, so I'd say that's pretty much dead on. I could see the, maybe an 8-touchdown type season, some reception, some rushing there, and, spread them out type situations down near the goal line where you get the drop, the middle type things. So, yeah, I'd say you're pretty much right on there.
Yeah, I can see a 700-yard rushing, 500-yard receiving season.
Right.
The reason why I'm down on his touchdowns is just Mikel LaShore is obviously going to be their banger when they get in close.
Right.
And then you still have Calvin Johnson as a red zone target. You have Brandon Pettigrew, who's a big guy, as a red zone target.
Yep.
Between those three guys, there's not enough balls to go around. There's no way that Reggie Bush is going to get the ball that many times in the end zone unless he breaks a long run. And I don't know if this is a newsflash for people, but Reggie Bush isn't a burner. He's not the guy that's going to break a long run for a touchdown. If he's going to get a touchdown, he's going to be 10 yards out on a swing pass. Am I wrong on this?
4.4 speed. I'd say he's pretty fast.
I've never seen him blow me away with his in-game speed. I've never seen him do what Jamal Charles just bust loose an 80-yard run for a touchdown.
Yeah, he's not quite on that level, but he's fast. He's a guy that can break it for sure.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up this podcast this week. What do you think, Matt? You got anything else going on?
No. I'm just going to go sit back, watch some SportsCenter, hear our name called probably. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, that's about it. Pretty quiet night for the both of us, I think. All right, so that does it for us, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
All right, don't forget those questions, by the way.
Yep, Blindside Pod, hashtag Blindside Pod.